All right, don't tell me that game didn't matter. That mattered. And that was very frustrating. Welcome to the Knicks Film School Postgame Show. DJ Zullo with you on a night where the Knicks officially can't beat the elite teams. They are now just in the Eastern Conference. They finish 0-8 against the Celtics, against the Cavaliers. They lose one tonight, a game they led by 23 points. They lose 108 to 102 to a Cleveland Cavalier team that I know Donovan Mitchell didn't play. I know there's other rotation players out. Their main guys were in the game late. The Knicks' main guys were in the game late. That game had the trappings of a meaningful regular season game. I won't go as far as to say that was a playoff atmosphere, but that was a game that both teams wanted. And the Knicks should have won the game, up 23 points. There's a lot of reasons why the Knicks lost this game. And I think that is some of those reasons I think are ones that you can carry over and think this could be something that we would have to worry about in the playoffs, which is why I think this game matters as well. You know, there are some moments in that game defensively where I think you're seeing areas where the Knicks are still trying to figure out ways to mitigate some of their problems. And it starts, unfortunately, with Jalen Brunson down the stretch defensively. And the Knicks have tried things this year. They've tried switching him onto more dynamic guards and forwards. But their intention more times than not is to try to prevent that and try to hide him, try to, when they do bring him into the action, which the Cavaliers did relentlessly down the stretch in this game, when they do that, they're going to try to have him show, recover, and try to keep him off the matchup the opponent is trying to get. So Darius Garland is having a great second half, great fourth quarter. They start to bring Jalen Brunson into the action, and with him guarding Max Strus setting the screen, Brunson instead of switching on to Garland, he's showing, he's trying to recover. Now the Knicks are in rotation. Strus hits a three. That gives the Cavaliers a 101-98 advantage, up three. Brunson comes back, hits a two. The Knicks are within one. Again, they bring Brunson into the action. Strus setting the screen. This time, they're just putting two on the ball. So again, they're not switching Brunson on to Garland. But now the Cavaliers have two players on Garland. The ball moves, and Strus has another wide open three. It's 104-100. There was that crazy sequence where Bridges ends up making a short mid-range shot, 104-102. Knicks down two. They did, and the Cavaliers do the same thing. And again, this is why it matters, because you know teams are going to do this in the playoffs. And the Knicks didn't have Karl-Anthony Towns to contend with as well. So this wasn't one of those situations where it was just Jalen Brunson as the guy you could sort of pick at. And pick at it, the Cavs did. So again, Garland has the ball, top of the key. Strus is going to set the screen. Now the Knicks adjust. They switch Brunson on to Garland, which I thought was something they should have done earlier in the quarter. But they do it this time. And what happens? Jalen, which is something he is prone to do, he is going to expose his back foot and try to shepherd Garland or whomever he's guarding into the defensive help. And he has Garland on the left wing, and his right foot is way back, and Garland can attack that back foot, get downhill, gets all the way to the rim, and finishes. So by getting Jalen Brunson into the action, the Cavaliers scored 8 points on 3 possessions, and that was the ball game. Saying nothing about the other end where the Knicks struggled to get good shots. They played very well offensively in the first quarter, and then slowly but surely their offense deteriorated after that. So the Jalen Brunson piece of this, the defensive shortcomings, literally and figuratively, matter. And the Knicks, you could see them try to figure out ways to lessen that impact. 3 different coverages on 3 consecutive ball screens where Jalen Brunson is guarding the screener. So if the Knicks at this stage still don't really know what to do, and listen, Garland he's an all-star. He's a fantastic point guard, but he's not Donovan Mitchell. I don't think in terms of his scoring ability plus passing, he's quite at the Cade Cunningham level now. And the Knicks were petrified for at least 2 of those possessions to just let Jalen Brunson switch the action and guard the man one-on-one. And then on the third one, Jalen gives the Knicks some evidence that maybe that was the right decision because it gets blown by and Garland gets all the way to the basket. So that's something the Knicks still have to figure out. And like I said, there was no Karl-Anthony Towns, so it should have been less of a problem because you only had the one guy to maybe try to figure out a way to hide a little bit. But listen, teams are going to do this. And in the playoffs is going to be even more relentless and targeted. Knicks didn't handle it well. And while the Detroit game the other night felt like a game that maybe gave you some signs of things to come, and we'll get to the playoff seedings, which in the Eastern Conference at least is complete. We'll talk about that. The Knicks have their matchup. The Knicks are officially the 3rd seed in the Eastern Conference, which, is an accomplishment. And they will be playing the 6th seed Detroit Pistons. So if you want to just sort of forget this one and send in questions regarding that series, by all means, do that. We could talk about that. So that Detroit game is still fresh in my mind. But like that game felt like one where it ends and you don't really feel the Knicks attack that game to win it, whether it's the lineups they were playing or the body language. But this one didn't feel that way. It didn't. It just felt like a game the Knicks wanted to win because they have been hearing it from opening night that they can't compete with these elite teams in the Eastern Conference. And they wanted at least one of them. And it wouldn't have been, the cleanest victory in terms of the narratives because, again, players were missing. All NBA players were missing from this game. So that is a huge caveat. But the Knicks wanted this game. The Knicks didn't want to finish 0-8 against these teams this season, heading into the playoffs. But that's exactly what happened. And the same sort of things keep happening again and again and again and again and again. And one of those things that keeps happening, and listen, maybe Macri exceeds my optimism regarding this player, but it's probably neck and neck. And I've been one of the biggest proponents of Josh Hart in the starting lineup, playing big minutes as anyone. But there's just something not right with him. I pointed out that early in the game, I think it might have been the first or second possession, he sort of stopped and grabbed his left knee, almost like he was trying to make sure structurally it was still sound. Grimaced a little bit, stayed in the game, looked okay after that. But it's not even just that. It is the big issue, which is the fact that he continues to just be a liability as a guy that won't shoot the ball. And it got so bad tonight, and I know he hit a couple. Hit one, pretty late in the game. That was a big shot, but it got so bad at one point that Mike Breen even said on the broadcast, like, you have to shoot the ball. And he's almost in this in between where he's spacing typically in the left wing. So he's catching the ball with 1, sometimes 2 feet on the line or even inside the line and sort of just trying to get it to the next action. So he's not catching it and stampeding himself to the rim. He's obviously not catching it consistently and just shooting the basketball. So it just nothing materializes, nothing happens. And listen, we keep saying, and it's not the worst thought in the world, that listen, it's going to be the playoffs, and he did this last year. He's going to figure out, he's going to shoot more, better, because it's the stage, it's all the things. And I don't know, I don't have the confidence that is just a given. Do you? Based on what we're seeing now? And just the athleticism, the burst, the veracity, the way the verve, something was missing tonight. Maybe there's a knee thing that's happening, but there's just something missing right now with Josh Hart, who, when he is going well, you can, and I know not everyone does this, and it's a fair position to be, but you could overlook some of the limitations as a shooter because he is so important to how they generate pace, their transition attack, the playmaking, the finishing, the rebounding, the defense, which I know has not been quite at the level we're accustomed to, but generally has been good this year. Those things can allow you to sort of deal with the shortcomings as a shooter. But when he is not doing all those things at his normal Josh Hart level, then it's almost like the shooting is just, it becomes too much. It becomes too much to deal with for an offense that since November, December just has not been elite. And maybe if they were playing as the number 1, number 2, number 3 offense in the NBA consistently, you could overlook the Josh Hart issues as a shooter. But the Knicks made out well as a team, spamming Cat Brunson 2-man actions early in the season. And then when teams sort of leaned into the natural counter of putting wings on Cat and switching those things, that number 1, number 2 ranked offense, which is what it was up until basically the new year, started to show some signs of wear. And it didn't quite reach that level again. So when Josh Hart is performing like he is of late and how he performed tonight in a game that mattered, you kind of have to think about going in a different direction. And I have been a staunch supporter of Hart staying in the starting lineup, of maintaining the minutes, maybe not quite 38 minutes a night, but somewhere in that range, because of all the things that he provides, and all the things that he provides are things that the Knicks need. And the Knicks don't have easy replacements for those Josh Hart things. We know what those things are. I just talked about them. So if he's not providing those things, then what are we doing here at this point? And maybe Josh Hart just was like one of the ones that just didn't care about this one. And that's I can't get into his head. Maybe we'll get some post-game sound that suggests that he maybe wasn't super into this one, but that doesn't necessarily feel like a Josh Hart thing to do, especially when the entire rest of the team played this one like this game was a big game. Even though in the standings, in the playoff scenario, this meant nothing. We knew before the game ended that the Knicks were locked in at 3 and Detroit was locked in at 6. And this one meant absolutely nothing except your competitive intensity and your will to win the game. And I thought both teams had a will that was strong and intense to win this game. So for the Knicks to lose it and to officially go 0 for the season against the Cavs, against the Celtics, throw in the Thunder, 0-10. That's a crazy thing to think about. For a team that's going to win 50 or 50 plus games, to go 0-10 against arguably the three best, not arguably, against the three best teams in the NBA is freaking crazy. And I think that we need to just sit with that a little bit and understand that that is bad and that sucks. And the Knicks need to look themselves in the mirror. And as a fan base, we need to like really wrestle with the idea that this team can't beat them. And I know they were close in the first Cleveland matchup. I know this one they should have won. But listen, we're talking about now 10 games of futility where there's an exposure that keeps happening with their, I think, lack of elite ball handling outside of Jalen Brunson, where it's just hard for them in the half court to generate separation with the ball. And I think that's what lends itself sometimes to some of the 3-point suppression. Although tonight, to their credit, they got them up. I think they shot over 40 threes on the night. Thank Landry Shamet for that. And I hope for him, that was a playoff statement for Landry Shamet. I hope he gets real playoff minutes, because that guy is one of the only ones on the team that just gets threes up and does it in the way that only he can as an off-screen shooter and mover without the basketball. So hopefully for Shamet, who shot, by the way, last 10 games, he came into the night shooting 46% from three on high volume. I don't know what his exact number, and I'll get it here in terms of the 3-point shooting tonight. I know he sort of tapered off a little bit and at the end, but he ended up shooting 5 of 12. I'm sorry, that was overall. So 5 of 11. So again, basically 46% again for Landry Shamet, who has been, sort of a revelation as a shooter of late. So credit to him. And there's another guy I want to credit, and we'll get to him before we wrap here, this open. But listen, I know Towns in play, so this offense was going to be a challenge. And I said this earlier on X, when the Knicks made the trade for Karl-Anthony Towns. They traded their number one 3-point creator and their number one 3-point volume shooter. And that's another piece of this that we have to wrestle with. Despite the volume tonight, the 3-point shooting continues. If you look at the season as a whole, still remains something that is a big concern heading into the postseason. But you're seeing things come up time and time again. And I think the other player that, was sort of, disappointing again tonight against these elite teams, I thought OG Anunoby again as a finisher, had some moments, although had some unfortunate misses in transition, but he struggles with the ball in his hands against these really high level, big, rangy teams, which just happens to be the Cavaliers, the Celtics, to name a couple. So when he was having that run of his where it was, 28 plus a game for, 10, 11 game stretch, I said, let's just pump the brakes a little bit based on opponent, based on, some of the things, some of the guys that were actually the man that was guarding him, I thought was, for the most part, like a bunch of subpar defenders. Like, let's just see how this looks against better teams. And you're seeing some of the things where we looked at OG Anunoby before that stretch, and we all thought it like, all right, maybe there just isn't a lot there in terms of on the ball creation and all those things that can really vault him to that next level. And you're seeing those issues prop up again against these elite teams. And I thought he, for the most part, struggled a little bit tonight in that. And I thought the wings in general, I thought Bridges defensively, and I know this is like a lot of negativity, but I'm just feeling like this one is a microcosm of what this season has been against these great teams. And it deserves me to be real with you about what I'm seeing, what I'm observing, and what I think about how it matters that you go 0-8 against the two best teams in the Eastern Conference. But Mikal Bridges just couldn't guard Darius Garland. Couldn't stay in front of him. Had all the trouble in the world defending him. And when the Knicks traded for him, it was supposed to be a guy that you could comfortably, reliably put on those small, elite shooting, high scoring guards and feel good about it. That was the theory. That was one of the things he excelled at in Phoenix. It's one of the things that the Knicks missed when they traded Quentin Grimes. They didn't replace it. They had trouble all postseason last year figuring out ways to guard Maxey, to guard Halliburton, and Bridges was supposed to be the antidote for that. And consistently, it has just not been there for him. He's had games where it's looked good, but we are basically at the finish line. And if you had to be a fair judge of his season defensively, it has been a massive, massive disappointment. And the fact that he struggles so much guarding these players makes everything else about how they want to run their defense much, much tougher. And guess what? There is no Karl-Anthony Towns tonight to blame. This was on Mikal Bridges. And when Garland had his way with him, it was just another reminder that trade has not brought back the return that any of us, Knicks front office included, thought it would. And we have to just be real about that. He had some moments offensively. I thought his passing, his floor game was excellent tonight. He's probably had 13, 14 assists in the last 2 games. His work as a screener continues to be something the Knicks need to continue to tap into, especially to counter some of the switching schemes that these teams continue to utilize against the Knicks. But he needs to be better guarding the basketball. And I just have been saying that since basically December, and it's April 11th. And it just feels like it's just not going to happen. And that means, it's not OG and it's not Mikal Bridges guarding Cade Cunningham when that series starts. We know it's going to be OG Anunoby. And long term, the Knicks aren't going to just be able to say, whether it's Dame Lillard or Trae Young or Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell, whoever the small elite ball handling guard is, we can't just say, Mikal, you got this. And 5 first-round picks, swaps, whatever, you thought that part at least was going to be covered. And it just has not been covered at all. And that continued tonight. Listen, this is a tough one. And as I've said many times, in the last 25 minutes, this one meant nothing to standings, seedings, any of it. But you knew watching that game and the way you're feeling right now, how annoyed, how sick you are about this one, tells you how much the players tried and wanted this one. And that's what makes this one a tougher pill to swallow, tougher than it should have been. But we do have one player to maybe finish on a positive side. I talked about Landry Shamet. We should give mention to Mitchell Robinson, who I know after the first quarter didn't necessarily have a huge impact on this one. But listen, he played the entire first quarter, looked great. Lob finishes, offensive rebounding, rim deterrence, like all the things that made Mitchell Robinson a borderline top 10 center to start last season came to fruition in that first quarter. And he had the wind, the conditioning to get through it and finished at 32 minutes on the night, which is obviously the most minutes he's played on the season. And I feel like maybe could be rounding into form and just able to give the Knicks maybe more minutes, whether it's Towns foul trouble, whether that's the pairing of the two together. They're going to need him at his best against Detroit. And if we get a Detroit question, I'm happy to take it. And I'll be honest about it. And I think I'm in the minority regarding it. This is going to be a war of a series. I don't know if I'm going to pick the Knicks in 6 or 7. I am picking the Knicks. I am not picking the Knicks in 5. I'm not picking the Knicks in 4. This is the Pistons do things that just make life difficult on the Knicks, but Mitchell Robinson as a entity gives the Knicks something to push back with. And his physicality, his rebounding, his ability to just set a screen and get into the middle of the paint on a roll, bring the defense in and maybe create some corner threes. Like those are the things the Knicks are going to have to utilize in that series, which listen, we're going to have plenty of time to analyze and get into, but happy to see Mitch get to over 30 minutes, perform well, continues to, show some flashes of skill development, whether it's his ball handling, whether it's his non-dunk finishing at the rim, free throw shooting. There's some things with him and it's subtle. Another thing, he's become really well adjusted to getting offensive rebounds and just looking for the outlet. Last season, he really became a problem once he would secure the offensive rebound and trying to finish the ball on a non-dunk. It was like in the 40%, field goal percentage. Like he struggled mightily doing it. So instead of trying to finish over the top or around a congested paint, he's just spraying the ball out for open threes, getting some assists out of it. So that's a development piece. And just overall for him, I feel like he's trending in a nice positive direction. But what's not trending a nice positive direction is the Knicks' performance against these great teams. And we will wrestle with that, talk about it throughout the night as long as you guys want to.